Reports are surfacing that the Cubs may be looking past Alex Bregman for an answer at third base. And it could be a guy who used to play in the division with a lot of power, and that would be Eugenio Suarez. Could he be an answer to the Cubs' problem at third base, and could that be a good sign for Matt Shaw? We're going to get into that. Cubs were reportedly signing and close to signing Zach Gallen. Didn't happen yet, but it was reported by Bob Nightingale for a reason. There's a reason why some people feel like he would be the right fit for the Cubs, and that's his connection with Carson Kelly, his former teammate and Cubs catcher. And the Athletic reporting that the Cubs are targeting a high level of free agent market player this year. We're going to get into all those things right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Hey, hit that QR code and win at Mick Nation. And let's have a little bit of fun today, guys. Let's get this party started. Thanks, everybody. Mick Gillespie, and it is great to talk to you on the Cubs Baseball channel today as we look at all the stories going on, winter meetings, maybe some signings, and I want to start with this one, which is kind of the breaking news right now. I don't want to say it's breaking, but the hottest rumor out there is that the Cubs are interested in Eugenio Suarez, potentially over Alex Bregman. Now, why would that one make sense? There's a few reasons why I think Eugenio Suarez would make sense for the Cubs. And the first thing is they gave Dansby Swanson this long-term contract. I think we could say that, it's been okay, right? He hasn't not lived up to it, but he hasn't exceeded the contracts. He's been kind of here. It's a lot of money for a slightly above average player. Thank goodness it hasn't turned into a Jason Hayward contract yet, but it felt like it was going that direction a couple years ago. I thought last season was a bounce back for him. And we saw in the San Diego playoff series how important his defense can be. And when he gets in a zone and some big games, he can make a difference. And of course, he won a World Series in Atlanta. So maybe the Cubs are looking at it and going, if we're going to get Bregman, it could be 5 to 7 years. If we get Suarez, well, maybe we can get him because he is older for, somewhere between 2 and 3 years. And that's kind of where things are looking at right now. And projections are 2 or 3 years, $12 to $20 million a season, right? So 45 to 50 to potentially 70 million if you look at a 3-year contract. I don't know that the Cubs will do 3 years for Suarez, but maybe they do. The thing you really like about Suarez is that he's got proven power. And I thought he had a really good postseason for the Mariners and helped them make a run into a game away from, or a win away from going to the World Series for the first time, right? He's affordable, but he is a masher. And he's one of the best power hitting third basemen in baseball. I think defensively he's good enough. I don't think you're going to get as good of a glove from him than you are from, Matt Shaw. But look, he had 49 home runs and 118 runs batted in last year. He hit 228. He's always a threat in the lineup. And he's been an all-star a few times. The Cubs are in the mix, and that's kind of what the word is right now. This one, to me, makes sense on a couple levels, right? Gives you the power. You put someone who now has some he's had multiple levels of playoff experience, and you don't have to get rid of Shaw, right? Like, you could use him as a utility guy. You could let him grow into the position. You could keep him around for insurance. You could trade him too. But if you sign Bregman, third base is gone for years. And if you do 2 years with Suarez, you get this year, And then maybe by next year, halfway through the season or something, maybe he's DHing and Shaw's ready to be your everyday third baseman, if that's kind of what you want. Now, to me, I just don't feel like Shaw I just don't, and I've said this before, I don't think that he, in my mind, in my estimation, is an everyday third baseman. I just don't. I think he'd be better suited to play second. I like him at shortstop in a pinch. And maybe he'll play some outfield, but, I could be wrong. I mean, defensively, he's held up well. And I think that there's a potential where he could hit 25 home runs in a season. I mean, I think over that would be surprising to me, but maybe he could. I mean, there's a part of his game that kind of reminds me of Alex Bregman. He's just got, obviously more development to get there. And, obviously have to have a lot of success, but I don't know. Like my thoughts on the Cubs signing Bregman are that they'd love to have him. And I think that when you add championship experience and you look at what the Astros have built in Houston, I mean, they just kind of have this thing. I know they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they were close. They kind of got injured and eventually just had too many injuries to overcome. But you look at Tucker when he was healthy, what Bregman did for the Red Sox last year, and he's a really good player. But at the same time, with Suarez, you're not locked in forever. So that's where I think that this could happen. And I'm going to get into why I feel like the Cubs may be willing to go ahead and pony up some money this offseason. Now, the last couple of days have been filled with just intrigue over the report that Zach Gallen had signed with the Cubs. And whatever information that Bob Nightingale got, has obviously been embarrassing to him, right? I mean, you just couldn't help it, right? But it was his ex post was the Chicago Cubs are finalizing. The Chicago Cubs are close to finalizing an agreement with free agent starter Zach Gallen. He even had numbers, an average of $22 million a year. Talked about 3 top 10 Cy Young Award winning finishes, and he's averaged 32 starts a year for the past 4 seasons. And then Jeff Passan came back, and he's like, Zach Gallen does not have a deal and is not close to finalizing one. And then Bob Nightingale came back, and he's like, the Chicago Cubs are hopeful, in capital letters, of finalizing an agreement with free agent starter Zach Gallen on a multi-year deal. But the deal is not done, with others still in contention. And then, so it's a tough business that these guys are in. When you're trying to go off of your sources and predict where a player is going to end up signing. And part of what these guys are paid for is being the first one there to say it, to beat the rest of everybody in baseball, to break the news. And this time it backfired, and it happens. So why would the Cubs be a destination that Gallen would like? Well, some of the speculation right now is that he's got a great connection with Carson Kelly. And it kind of reminded me of, and you guys remember this from the Cubs World Series, when John Lester and David Ross had that connection. Got one, got the other one. And you remember when it was reported that Rossi had signed, I think, with the Padres. And we're like, what? And then he signed with the Cubs. So the report was wrong. Kind of the same thing. And so maybe this is why. They played together with Arizona, and Gallen had his best seasons when those two teamed up, 20, 22, and 23. And if you don't think that it matters to some pitchers, it does. I mean, look, I was it Greg Maddux that threw to the same guy every time? Some pitchers just want to work with the same guy. So Gallen has thrown more innings with Kelly, 327, than any other catcher that he's pitched with in the big leagues. And what's crazy is his earned run average when those two are together is 281, and that comes from our friend Patrick Mooney with The Athletic, right? So that's why. And Kelly's in year 2 of an $11.5 million contract, and why not? I mean, the Cubs are going after someone. Now, I know that Ranger Suarez is another guy that we're keeping an eye on with this, but I just have, for a long time, I felt like Zach Gallen still has something left in the tank. I love the fact that he's been durable, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the Cubs feel like it'd be a great fit. I bet he does too. So I'm curious if I'll ever be able to find out why Bob Nightingale thought that was a done deal. Was it a bad source? Was it a deal that got done and then they backed out of it? There's a lot of things that could be happening behind the scenes. I don't know, but look for this to be something that pops back up really soon, right? Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about on today's show, talking about our friend Patrick Mooney in The Athletic, quote, targeting a higher level of the free agent market. So Cubs got really close last year. I mean, they did. They lost to Milwaukee, who lost to the Dodgers, who won the World Series. They won a playoff series. I feel like if the Cubs would have won the division and hosted 3 games at Wrigley, I think they'd have won the series. The Brewers don't have the money to keep the roster the way that it's been, right? And they've done a great job of developing players that slide in and help them out. Cubs are going to be without Kyle Tucker because he's going to sign somewhere else. But it's not like he was really contributing a whole lot by the time the postseason came around. And I think a lot of you guys feel like the Cubs are going to need some more pop to get back to where they were, right? But look, if Michael Busch continues to grow, and it feels like he's on the verge of being an MVP type candidate over at first base. You know what you're getting out of Nico, consistent. You know what you're getting out of Swanson, good defense, but not a good hitter at the plate for the most part. Third base, we've talked about that. That's where you're going to spend some of your money. And then, you're locked in on Ian Happ because he's got a no-trade clause. So as hot and cold as he is, he's not going anywhere. Pete Crow Armstrong, we saw him as an absolute monster first half of the season, up until the All-Star break, and then after that fell off. Can he find somewhere in the middle? Could he actually do a whole season like he did the first half? We'll find out. And then right field, Owen Casey, who to me is going to turn a lot of heads when he gets an opportunity to play a lot, Seiya Suzuki. Kelly behind the plate, and I still hope the Cubs go out and try to add another catcher, as someone that could be a long-term solution behind the plate. So the fact that they're willing to add money, that they want to add another starter. How far are they willing to go to build on what they were able to accomplish last year? It's good that we're hearing they're targeting a high level of free agent. Now, they were going after Dylan Cease, and then Cease got the deal with Toronto and took it. But he was the number 1 pitcher on the market, according to a lot of people. Cubs are Gallen's one of the top guys. Suarez is one of the top guys. Imai, the pitcher coming over from Japan's one of those guys. And we'll see what happens. If they go with Imai, they're going to have to spend probably $200 million over the course of the deal, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Will they do it? Maybe. I mean, you look at the deal that Yamamoto got and look at what he did. Won a World Series MVP. And he was brilliant. So you keep hearing the Cubs kind of in the mix for some of these really elite pitchers. And I think that's a good sign because they're willing to go out there and spend the money to get better. All right, that does it for the show today. Make sure that you guys get in the comments section. Tell me what you think. And again, AveD, that's our Web3 home. Thank you guys for going out there and being a part of our contests. As eventually we'll have our store there. We're building everything towards AveD and Mick Nation. So check that out and get in the comments section. Tell me what you guys think. Even some of you Cardinals fans to get in there from time to time. Can't forget about you guys. But look, have a great day, And we'll do it again tomorrow. Go Cubs.